The story of Lucretia Cay begins right here in this small cemetery along Mount Desert Street, which is also known as the Mount Desert Street Cemetery, directly across from the Abbey Museum, which is right there. And if we pan to the right, the Jessup Library. Now the cemetery where Lucretia Cay's body came to rest is located right between these two churches. This white one right here, which can be seen from the village green in downtown Bar Harbor. And the second church is this one right here with the bell tower, almost directly across the street from the Jessup Library. The cemetery itself is fairly small, with some very old gravestones. And the gravestone of Lucretia Cay is right there. Okay, right now we're at the Bar Harbor Ball Field, which is along Route 3 as you're heading toward Otter Creek. And this is probably the view Lucretia Cay would have seen as her and the other 12-year-old girl started out that day. Mountains, sunshine. It was an August day in the early 1800s. Just her and another 12-year-old girl. Slowly making their way to the Schooner Head Road to an uncle's farmhouse that was located there at the time. Now, as the two 12-year-old girls left Bar Harbor, they followed a trail that's no longer there today. The hiking trail used to run along right here, which is the bottom of Strawberry Hill. And eventually it came out up by Schooner Head Road. Okay, you gotta go down the Schooner Head Road just a little ways, and you'll come to where the trail actually starts right here. At least, that's where it starts today. This is the Schooner Head Path. I'm not sure it was called that back then, but that's what it's called today. It's a very nice path. Follows the edge of Schooner Head Road. You're kind of like in the woods. It's very nice. I can see why two 12-year-old girls would have wanted to hike along here picking berries. It's very nice. And just next to the start of the path is the back entrance to Jackson Laboratory. So you go just past the back entrance and you will find the start of the Schooner Head Path. And here along the path, just several car lengths from the last video I shot, you can actually see Champlain Mountain. But back then it was named Newport Mountain. Renamed some years later after it became a national park. So Newport then became Champlain. And the path continues down alongside of Schooner Head Road. And right across the street right here at this point, there's another path, which is a connection trail to Compass Harbor. And you can also access the remains of the George B. Dorr estate there as well, and explore along the edge of the ocean. They're all very nice trails. Now this here is the Murphy Lane path. which is the path the two girls took that day. The reason they turned off of the Schooner Head trail is really unknown, other than at some point one of the girls decided to leave the Schooner Head trail and come up this trail instead. Now Murphy's Lane comes out right across from the precipice. And that's where the two girls decided to hike up that day. They wanted to see if they could get a better view of their uncle's farm from up there. That's where they headed. The two girls made their way about, I don't know, a ways up anyway. It was well above a spot known as Great Cave. They were well above that, when at one point Lucretia Kay decided to stand on a large rock on a ledge to see if the view of her uncle's farmstead could be seen from there. At some point, the second girl, also 12 years old, joined her on that large rock, and the large rock gave way, carrying Lucretia Kay down the mountainside to her death. Her friend, the other 12-year-old girl, was thrown off to the side and survived, even though she was injured, and made her way back down the mountainside to get help. Of course, for Lucretia Kay, it was already too late. Now, the family didn't have much money, and Lucretia Kay was buried in that little cemetery plot in the downtown Bar Harbor, and for years there was no gravestone marking her grave. But the family did return back to this mountain, and on the spot where her body came to rest, they placed a small wooden cross. Years later, a relative returned, I believe a brother, and the gravestone that's in that grave, in that little graveyard down in town, was placed there by him. Now when the wind comes in off the sea just right, on a late evening, and whiffs of fog are blowing in, and the breeze passes just right, you can hear a moan, you can hear a groan, or you can see something just up ahead that suddenly vanishes. And there are those who believe that's Lucretia Kay. At least her spirit, trying to find its way down off those cliffs. Not yet dusk, but we already have the fog rolling in. Oh yes, her spirit lives.